Low demand is driving carrot prices down while high tomato volumes puts pressure on this market. Plus, we'll look at the latest price movements and forecasts for other key commodities in the fruit and vegetable markets of South Africa. All in this week's AMT Fruit and Vegetable Outlook, brought to you by Fieldnet Pivot Watch. Hi, I'm Dr. Johnny van der Merwe and welcome to this week's episode. The rand again held steady over the past week, trading at R17.67 against the US dollar. Our inflation rate dropped to below 4% for the first time in over 3 years, reaching 3.8% in September, strengthening the case, of course, for policymakers to proceed with further rate cuts. However, there is also a growing expectation that the upcoming rate cuts in the US may be less aggressive than we initially anticipated, which could of course spill over to our projected rate cuts as well. The latest Brent crude oil price decreased by more than 4% on Monday, trading on $72.87 per barrel. The Brent crude oil price remains very volatile given the lower global demand expected from China and supply that remains uncertain due to the geopolitical conflict, especially between Israel and Iran. The hope is, however, that this tension can ease now. Elsewhere, market participants are watching for potential output adjustments from OPEC and the implications of the US election that is happening on November 5th. Maximize your farm's efficiency with Fieldnet Pivot Watch, your 24/7 remote monitoring solution. Keep track of your pivots from anywhere, save water, and boost crop yields. This is precision farming made easy. Fieldnet Pivot Watch, because every drop counts. Starting with the vegetable markets as usual, the average national potato price stayed on a lower level as expected and traded on R67.05 per 10 kg and is now about 22% lower than what we saw a year ago, while total volumes are about 3% lower year on year. Last week, large potato prices traded sideways on 77, mediums traded on 66 Rand, and smalls lower on 47 Rand per 10 kg. Mondials traded lower on 68, Cifras higher on 87, and Lenormand significantly lower on 39 Rand per 10 kg. We're seeing high volumes on the markets at the moment and quality that is not that great due to high temperatures and rain in the north. The feeling is therefore that the average price can remain sideways or maybe a bit higher this week, even though we are expecting better demand because we're at the start of the month, of course. We are a bit worried about lower prices during the middle of the month when demand is also likely to be lower. Switching to onions, the average price remains sideways on R49.27 per 10 kg. Brown onion prices rose to 50 Rand, red onion prices increased to 77 Rand, and white onions increased to 48 Rand per 10 kg. Large onions traded on 44 Rand, mediums on 56 and smalls on 35 Rand per 10 kg. We may see a slightly better price this week due to better demand that is expected, but unfortunately high volumes are still likely to limit any significant upward movement for the rest of this year. Tomato prices dropped to R9.15 per kilogram with 25% more volumes week on week. High volumes from a major producer in the north is still putting the average price under pressure at the moment. This week also started off with very high volumes on the markets, with demand not likely to keep up. We can therefore expect lower prices this week again. Large tomatoes traded on R9.21, mediums on R9.50 and smalls decreasing to R7.90 per kilogram. The carrot price dropped again by 15% last week to R5.59 per kilogram, which was mostly due to volumes that also picked up and demand that slowed down a lot over the past 2 weeks. This price is however still about 35% higher than what we saw a year ago. It seems that more volumes and lower demand during the coming month will result in prices to decrease or stay in a downward trend at least, but expect higher demand in December to turn this tide upward again. Large carrots traded on R5.91, mediums on R4.88 and smalls on R3.76 per kilogram. The average pepper price dropped by 9% to R13.50 per kilogram, even though green pepper prices increased to R8.35 last week. The drop in the average price was driven by lower yellow pepper prices, which dropped by 31% to R24.44, and lower red pepper prices dropping by 32% to R27.70 per kilogram. We still anticipate a continued downward trend in prices in November, especially for green peppers, as volumes are likely to remain on a higher level. The average price can stabilize in December again. The average cabbage price decreased to R2.87. Garlic prices also fell to R61.87 per kilogram. Spinach prices stayed sideways on R2.76. Sweet potato prices decreased to R7.18. Pumpkin prices decreased to R2.61. Butternuts decreased sharply again to R3.73. Green beans picked up to R11.87, and cucumber prices fell to R13.44 per kilogram. If you'd like to see more detail on these specific commodities, please download our latest reports on amtrends.co.za for free. Let's take a quick look at what happened in the fruit markets over the past week. The average banana price increased to R13.17 per kilogram, or R237 per 18 kilogram box, and is now 16% higher than a year ago. Supply remains tight, with volumes about 14% lower than a year ago, and the price that broke through its upper resistance level. I expect prices to remain on a relatively higher level until the end of this year due to supply that can remain under pressure. Apple prices increased to R12.06. The pear price rose to R12.20 per kilogram, while the latest orange price also increased, trading on R11.14 per kilogram. These commodities, of course, is out of season at the moment. The avocado price also increased to R23.93 per kilogram due to a 17% drop in volumes over the past week. Fieldnet increased to R30, Haas traded on R18, while the latest Pinkerton price traded on R29 per kilogram. The ivory price is expected to climb and peak in January next year before dropping sharply in February as the new season begins. Table grape prices increased to R96.49, pineapples traded lower on R12.89, while lemon prices increased to R6.51. Meanwhile, blueberry prices recovered to a certain extent, increasing by 10% to R45.36 per kilogram. Expect more blueberries on the markets over the next few weeks, which could push these prices down in November and December again. Before we wrap up, I'd like to remind you that there's space available for a sponsorship on our upcoming videos. If you're interested in reaching our audience and showcasing your brand, get in touch now. This video is made possible by Fieldnet Pivot Watch by Lindsay. Visit our website at amtrends.co.za for more detailed reports, our latest prices and videos. I'm Dr. Johnny van der Merwe, and thank you for watching.